Hello and welcome. This is Jim Coppin with Rankin Technical College. This video is a walkthrough of the Git branching and merging assignment. So as students, you have your own repositories and you're not used to actually having to commit code that's to a shared repository. And basically in the real world, when you're working on teams, company's going to have things configured differently depending on the company. But generally, you're going to have your own kind of local repository that you work on. Then you're going to kind of be merging your code into a central repository. And generally, that central repository is actually used to be so that you can build and deploy to production, right? To deploy to different and maybe even other environments besides that. We haven't really talked about that much, but in a lot of companies, you have multiple environments, and usually, production's the main, the production levels, the number one environment, right? So, so you always have usually a central repository that you use, and so like I said, that you as a developer are usually going to be sharing that with other team members, okay? So it's very important to kind of understand a little bit about merging, branching and merging to be able to work on a team in that scenario. So there's a couple different ways. We're using GitHub Desktop, and originally I was going to also do the command line stuff where you can do all of the different commands on the command line in a terminal to handle the Git stuff, but it's a little more complex. So I decided to really just go ahead and concentrate on the GitHub Desktop. So, so the objective here is to gain practical experience with Git branching, merging, and file modification, and synchronizing with a remote repository using GitHub Desktop. And I will go ahead and put a link to this video in there in here for the students who come into the document before seeing this video. I do want to mention something. So some students may not be using Git as recommended and just upload files and folders individually. This will likely cause files to be out of sync between what they have locally and what's in their remote GitHub repository. If that is the case, it would probably be best to clone your remote repository in another directory locally before starting this assignment. Please let me know if you have any questions or need any assistance with that. And I would make sure that the other assignments you're working on, you have those already committed before you work on this one, so you have kind of a clean slate, so to speak. Okay, so let's see here. So here's the scenario. A made-up scenario. Imagine you're working on a collaborative project. You need to create a new feature without disrupting the made code base. So this lab will guide you through the process of creating a feature branch, making changes and merging those changes back into the main branch. So in the real world, what kind of happens is, so you have this main branch that that you use for deploying an application to production or other environments as well. And, there might be different people on your team working on different things. So there might be like some new feature project going on. And then you might have something where you have production fixes. So what you do in those cases, and there could be other projects as well. So there might be multiple things going on. Well, you don't want to have that all pushed to main because some things might go before something else. There may be some reason something gets delayed, right? So what you do is you create a branch. So you're basically kind of taking your main branch, you're splittering that, right? Creating a new branch. Then you do your work there. And then when it's time for that to go to production or be put into a different environment, you would go ahead and merge your code, merge that branch into the main. Okay, So that's kind of a common process in software development teams, okay, to do it that way. So that's what we're going to kind of do here. So I've got a new feature here, file, and we're just going to kind of put this file out there. And let me tell you what's going to happen here is because that file actually, this is two different scenarios. One where we have this new feature, but when we do this new feature, actually there's going to be an error in this file. So what we're going to do is after we push this, we're just make believe in here. We're going to push this out to, in our mind, a production environment. We're going to get it to main. It's going to be deployed. And then we're going to find out that there's an error and we need to do like an emergency production fix to this file. Okay. So that's kind of the scenario. That's the kind of scenario we're working with here. So first, let's go ahead and, so from this perspective though, we're on a new project where we're creating a new feature, okay? And we're going to keep this very simple, right? This ain't the real world scenarios, real world files and stuff, Usually you're going to have multiple files. It's going to be a real feature. We're just going to update some simple little HTML file, okay? So first though, what we're going to do here, let's make this a little bit smaller, and let me bring this up here. This don't really fit really well, but we're just going to do the best we can with it. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to create a new branch, right? We're going to call this new feature, okay? So we're going to come up here to branch, and we're going to click new branch. And then we're just going to go ahead and type in new feature. All right. And then we're going to hit create branch. So when you hit create branch, what that's going to actually do, it's going to go ahead and create the branch. Okay, now this is just creating this branch locally. It's not in the repository yet. And so actually let me pull that up just to show you that. Okay, so here's my repository. I haven't, your repository, you guys have been checking a lot of code. I just created this just to kind of follow along more than anything else. But, I have this repository. Obviously, I haven't checked something in since like chapter 2 of the HTML stuff. But here's my basic repository that's similar to yours, obviously. If you kind of come up here on the left-hand side, you see these are actually your different branches. And as you can see, we just have a main branch, right? And I didn't check everybody's repository, but it looks like everyone I did check, it seemed like they only had a main branch, which is good because, maybe if you had a bunch of branches, it might make things a little more confusing. But so right now, even though we went ahead and created that branch, we only created that locally, okay? So let's go back to this. So we have that. And so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to go ahead and create this file right here. Okay, we're going to create this new feature file. So let's go here, and just to make sure I'm in the right directory in that, I know that you guys have been doing this for a while now, so I'm sure you have your own little system. But here's the repository. And I don't want to, sometimes you might open things up in certain folders. In this case, it's probably best just to open up the whole repository. So you kind of want to be at the root there on that. All right. So I'm going to open this up, and this is the whole repository. And even though you don't see the .git file here, that hidden .git file, it is within this directory structure. Okay. And so let me show you something that can be helpful. Since we're starting to get used to a little more command line stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and click on New Terminal here, okay? And so this is opened up in this directory, right? And this is where all my folders are, plus that hidden .git directory. And here I just want to go ahead and do git status and take a look. And as you can see, it's on the new feature branch, okay? It's on that branch. So let me just go, I'm gonna go back and forth just to kind of show you because things are kind of very integrated with Git. You know, we downloaded the Git application from at the start of this course, right? And you know, we just been using GitHub Desktop or whatever, but you know, there is a application that's actually holding on to different things, right? Under the hood. So I do want to go back to GitHub Desktop just to show you this. I am going to go back to that branch again, but we're going to select the other branch. We're going to go back to the main. And as I did that, if I actually come down here now, this is kind of interesting. It actually changed this. It's because what's happening in this directory structure, you know, you have that, like I said, you have that .git folder, and it's tracking all this stuff. So it knows, you know, when desktop changed that, it's going to pick up here, back and forth, right? So just, you know, something just to keep in mind. And it's kind of really good to sometimes make sure that you know where you're at, you know, which folder, because you could have, I shouldn't say which folder, which branch you're on, because you can have multiple branches. So, you know, it's one of those things that it's not necessarily fun to do as a programmer or as a developer, but it's very important to kind of really understand and be careful with your branches, okay? So let me go back to GitHub Desktop here, and we're going to go back and click on New Feature here, because that's where we're going to make that change. And I'm going to come back over here, and just to make sure, now we're back on that branch, the New Feature branch. Then I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new file. And that's this new feature. I'm not sure what happened there. Doing like something there. Okay, so let me go grab the code out of the document here. So let's come down here. That's the wrong one. Helps if I have the right one. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this code here. I'm going to copy that. I'm just going to come over here and paste this in here. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen before we even get there. Before we get to the second part where we do the production fix. This actually has an error in it, and I'll tell you what I'll run it and show you what the error is. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and right-click and open this in Live Server. And when I open this in Live Server, I'm going to hit Show Message. And it's going to say an error occurred, reference error, feature details is not defined. Okay? So what we're doing is we're pretending that we now somehow it made it by testing. You know, in the real world, you're going to have a rigorous type testing type structure where, you know, besides just the developer testing stuff, there's other people. There's going to be somebody else testing that and signing off on your changes, right? But we're just kind of making believe. You know, there is times that something happens and then an error, a bug makes it to production and you need to fix it, okay? So we're just pretending that. So as you can see, there's an error there, right? And the reason is because it can't find this file because this don't exist. This has an S on it, this one don't, right? So later on our production fix, we're going to actually get rid of this S to fix this file. That's kind of our second scenario there, okay? But for now, this is what we have. So I save this file, okay? And we can go ahead and close this for now. And just remember, we're on the new feature branch here, right? We're not on our main branch like everything else we've done has always been on the main. We're on this new feature branch, okay? So let me close that up. And let's come back over here. Let's look at our directions. So commit our changes. So we want to go ahead and commit our changes here. Okay. So obviously they're showing here like we're used to. We'll just go ahead and use the default one, create new feature, details.html. So we're going to go ahead and commit this. Okay. We're going to commit this. And then we're going to go ahead from here and do publish branch. So back over here, remember, we still only have, let's just refresh to make sure, we still only have our main branch, right? And when I hit publish branch, it's going to do two things. It's going to create a new branch, and it's also in that new branch, it's also going to create that new file. Okay. So let's click publish branch. Okay. And now if I come over here and refresh this, I click on here, you're going to see now you got a new feature branch. So now you have two branches, main and new feature. So in main, you don't see that file, but in your new feature branch, you do see that file. Okay, you do see that file. All right. So we did that. We push create a merge. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is we published the branch. Publish the branch. Let me go a little bit bigger. We published the branch, and now we want to go ahead and merge this. So we want to take and merge our new branch into the main. Okay, we're pretending that we have this new feature, that we're going to merge this into the main so that we can deploy this to a production environment. Okay, so let's go over here, and we're going to go to branch, merge into current branch. Well, first we have to merge. We have to go to main. We have to go to the main branch. Okay, and then we're going to merge the new feature branch. Okay, so we come up here. Nope, switch this to main. First, you got to switch this to main. Then up here to branch, and then we want to choose merge into current branch. Okay, we're going to choose the new feature. So this is going to actually take whatever we have in the new feature branch and merge that into the main branch. So we're going to click create a merge commit. Okay. Now if we come back over here, as you can see, okay, that's that. Let's go back to the main. And you can see now, nope, it's not there. Oh, I forgot to do something. I need to push origin. You have to push origin. Sorry about that. Push origin. Now, when we come back over here and refresh this, now we have our file. Okay. So I do want to mention one thing is, so whenever you create your file, your original file, so this was 3 minutes ago, this was created in that new feature branch. So whenever it does get merged, it's going to use that timestamp so that the main here has that, going to have that same timestamp, just to let you know. But what we're going to do, and sometimes what you do when you're done merging, sometimes you can delete the branch, but we don't want to do that. I'd like for you guys to leave that there so I can see the progression that you guys did to create the branches and merge them. So we're just going to leave them branches there. We just need to be careful in subsequent assignments that we have here for the last few weeks that you make sure that you're on the main. Okay. Or we can delete them after next week or something. But okay, so we did that. So now we have our file out there, and let's just pretend that somebody finds out in production, hits that button, and there's an error, and it gets reported there's an error. So then it ends up coming to the team, the development team, that we need to do a production fix to fix this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're here on scenario 2. We're going to create a different branch. Okay, we're going to create a different branch. Well, this is just saying make sure you're on the drop down, you're on the main, and fetch origin, which yes, you should do. So click here, because actually you do need to make sure you fetch origin because it got merged, and you need to make sure you have the latest. The repository does not seem to exist anymore. Why did it do that to me? I don't know. That's an interesting error. I am almost sure that it's there. I don't know why it's doing that though. I'm wondering it's because I have two different ones here. No. All right. I still think this is okay though. So we're gonna just move on here. So what I want to do here now is I want to create. And actually, let's just real quick here. Let's go back over here, and let's see what we're at. So we get status. What are we on? We're in our status on branch main. So we're on main. I see the file here. I think we're good. Yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. I'm not quite sure why that's like that. Okay, so what we're going to do here now is we're going to do this production fix. And so we're going to create a new branch called production fix. And so I'm going to come up here. We're in the main. We want to be in main. And now we want to go ahead and do new branch here. And we're going to do a production fix. We're going to create a branch. Okay. And then from there, what we're going to do, it's automatically switches. Current branch is production fix. So then we're going to come over here. And in here, this is where we knew that we had an error here, right? Here, let's just make sure down here we're going to do get status. And we can see, yep, we're on branch production fix. And so then here I want to, let's just run this, see if it still broke, and it should be broke, right? So there's our error, okay? We're going to come back over here, and then we're going to get rid of this S so that this is correct. And we're going to save this. And then we're going to open this live server. We're going to click our show message, and we added a new feature. And so this error is gone now. We're good. All right, we saved this. So then what we're going to do is come back over here to GitHub Desktop. And you can see here's our change, right? And then so what we're going to want to do here is we're going to update our new, we updated here. We're just going to go, we'll just accept the defaults here. We're going to commit this to the production fix, okay? And then what we're going to want to do here is, let's just make sure that we don't have that other directory here. Yeah, let me call this. Okay, so here, we're just going to refresh this. So at main, we still should just have new feature in main, all right? So we're going to come over here and we're going to select publish branch. Okay, and now if we come over here and hit refresh, you can see we have our production fix too. So let's go back to this one. Why don't we just go take a look at this? And this is the one with the S, right? But then let's go ahead and go to our production fix one and look at that one. And we've got rid of that S and that looks good, right? So now we have that. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is come in here, pretty similar to what we've done before. We're going to do, nope, first we need to switch this to main. We're going to switch this to main, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and choose branch, and then choose merge to current branch. And we're going to select production fix. And we're going to do create a merge commit. And we're going to click push origin. And now if we come back here and go to our main, we can see that this file has changed. Well, yeah, let's look at that real quick. So let's look at our new feature. And so 10 minutes ago, we created the new feature details, right? Which we pushed over, which we merged to the main. But now that we ended up overriding, we end up overriding what was in the production one with what we did in the production fix, which 2 minutes ago, right? And so now we go to main, and it's going to say the same 2 minutes ago. Let's click on this just to make sure, and we can see that our S is gone, right? So we successfully merged, a branch. We had an original branch for a feature. We discovered there was an error. So when we came back and created another branch to do the production fix, and we then pushed that, then we merged that production fix to the main branch. And now we can take this and deploy this to a production environment, right? So that's all I have. This should be pretty straightforward. I don't think this should be too much of a problem. I'm not quite sure when I hit fetch origin why that was a problem. But just let me know if you have any problems, and have a good day. Thanks.